The J-20, despite being frequently described as a symbol of China's military modernization and technological rise, is viewed by critics as an overhyped project whose actual capabilities are far less impressive than officially claimed. The Chinese government and state-affiliated media have consistently promoted the fighter as a strategic breakthrough, placing it in the same league as advanced Western aircraft. However, the lack of transparency, the absence of credible third-party validation, and several unresolved technical issues have led many to view the J-20 as more of a political instrument than a combat-proven asset. A major source of skepticism comes from the nature of the program's development. While China claims the J-20 was indigenously designed, many defense analysts have highlighted that the aircraft heavily borrows from existing foreign technologies. Accusations of intellectual property theft and cyber espionage surrounding its development further taint the narrative of a purely homegrown success. The design itself shows visible signs of influence from other aircraft, undermining the claim that it represents a wholly original technological achievement. Another core criticism centers on the aircraft's powerplant. A major limitation of the J-20 lies in its continued reliance on engines that do not meet the performance standards expected of a fifth-generation fighter. The Chinese-developed WS-15 engine, intended to replace interim models, has repeatedly faced delays and technical hurdles. Even after years of development, reports suggest that the WS-15 still suffers from reliability and thermal management issues, which in turn limit the fighter's speed, maneuverability, and sustained high-performance operations. Without a reliable and powerful engine, the aircraft cannot fully exploit the performance advantages expected from its design. Stealth capabilities, another defining feature of fifth-generation fighters, are also disputed. While China presents the J-20 as a stealth platform, critics argue that its stealth is highly directional, optimized for head-on engagements but significantly compromised from other angles. Features such as canards and exposed engine nozzles are widely known to increase radar visibility. These design elements raise questions about whether the aircraft would survive in modern contested airspace against peer adversaries with advanced radar systems and integrated air defense networks. In addition to technical doubts, the strategic use of the J-20 is often criticized as being more about messaging than utility. Its frequent appearances in state media, parades, and government-orchestrated events point toward a deliberate effort to build an image of strength and deterrence. However, critics argue that this image does not reflect operational reality. The lack of documented combat experience, absence of third-party evaluation, and highly controlled information environment make it impossible to verify any of the claimed achievements. Without transparency or real-world data, many of the performance figures and operational claims made by Chinese sources remain unverifiable. The broader context also reinforces suspicions that the J-20 is being used as a tool of internal propaganda and external signaling. Within China, it feeds a narrative of national strength and technological self-sufficiency. Externally, it is used to project the image of a modern and capable military force. This strategy depends on repetition and control. Messages are amplified domestically while criticism is silenced or discredited. Outside observers note the consistent use of patriotic language, celebratory imagery, and coordinated messaging campaigns that elevate the J-20 to near-mythic status, even though hard evidence of its superiority is lacking. Another major concern among critics is the absence of foreign customers. Unlike successful fighter platforms that generate interest and demand from international buyers, the J-20 has not been offered for export. This absence is seen not just as a policy decision, but potentially as a reflection of doubts regarding its reliability, interoperability, or support infrastructure. If the aircraft were truly as advanced and competitive as claimed, there would likely be at least limited interest from aligned or less developed militaries. The complete lack of export movement further supports the view that its image exceeds its reality. Training and doctrine further complicate the J-20's operational profile. Reports suggest that Chinese pilots operate in environments that heavily depend on ground control, limiting their tactical independence. This approach runs counter to the decentralized decision-making that modern air combat requires. Even with a technically capable aircraft, poor human integration can severely restrict its effectiveness in real-time combat. The entire J-20 narrative, as constructed by the Chinese government and its media apparatus, reflects a tightly managed effort to control perception, both inside and outside the country. The lack of transparency, the strategic use of media, and the unwillingness to allow independent verification all contribute to a growing perception that the J-20's prominence is not the result of battlefield success or technical supremacy, but rather a top-down campaign of controlled storytelling. While the J-20 may represent a step forward in Chinese aerospace development, it is far from being the revolutionary force that official narratives suggest. Numerous unresolved issues, engine performance, stealth integrity, operational doctrine, and lack of combat validation, undermine claims of its effectiveness. Critics argue that the J-20's main battlefield so far has not been in the sky, but in the realm of political influence and psychological projection, where image often takes precedence over substance.